The day I won Employee of the Year, my boss handed the microphone and most of the credit to his daughter. He smiled at me and said Chloe is simply better with people. I let her take the applause. 3 months later, his largest client canceled a $12 million contract and asked me one question. Emma, where are you working now? My name is Emma Reed. I was 33 and worked as Senior Director of Client Strategy at Bellwether Logistics Group, a supply chain consulting firm headquartered in Denver. We helped manufacturers reduce shipping costs, prevent inventory shortages, and rebuild distribution networks after mergers or disasters. It wasn't glamorous. Most of my work happened inside spreadsheets, warehouses, and conference rooms, where executives argued over numbers they didn't fully understand. But I was good at turning complicated problems into decisions people could actually use. During my 7 years at Bellwether, I helped grow annual revenue from $18 million to nearly $60 million. I personally managed 5 of the company's largest accounts. The biggest was Everline Medical, a national hospital supply manufacturer worth almost $12 million a year to us. Everline's chief operating officer, Julia Warren, had once told my boss, Thomas Bell, "We hired Bellwether because of Emma. Everyone else is replaceable." Thomas laughed when she said it. I don't think he understood she wasn't joking. Thomas had founded Bellwether 20 years earlier. He was charming, intelligent, and obsessed with loyalty, as long as loyalty flowed toward him. He called employees family. He also believed family should never embarrass the person at the head of the table. His daughter Chloe Bell returned to Denver after finishing an MBA and spending 2 years at a luxury hospitality company in Los Angeles. Thomas created a title for her, Vice President of Client Experience. No one knew exactly what the role meant. Chloe explained it during her first executive meeting. "Clients don't remember your model," she said. "They remember how you make them feel." I agreed with that. The problem was Chloe believed making people feel good was the same as solving their problems. She was polished, attractive, and socially fearless. She could walk into a room of strangers and remember 10 names before lunch. She could also make a confident promise without knowing whether the company could keep it. Our first conflict started with something small. Everline was preparing to close 2 distribution centers and consolidate operations into a new automated facility in Kansas City. My team spent 6 months creating the transition plan. We modeled transportation costs, supplier risks, warehouse labor, hospital delivery windows, and emergency inventory requirements. 3 days before the final presentation, Chloe entered my office. "Dad wants me to lead the Everline meeting." I looked up from my laptop. "You haven't been involved in the project. I've attended the last 2 calls. You joined for the final 15 minutes. I've reviewed the executive summary." The executive summary is 11 pages. The model behind it has 9,000 variables. She smiled. "That's why you'll be there, to answer questions, to support me." I closed my laptop. Julia asked me to present. Dad already spoke to her. What did he say? That we're expanding the relationship team. That doesn't answer my question. Chloe sat across from me. "Emma, you're brilliant. Everyone knows that." Whenever someone begins a sentence by calling you brilliant, prepare to be insulted. She continued. "But you can be intense." With whom? With people, clients, sometimes. Which clients? She tilted her head. "This is exactly what I mean. You treat feedback like cross-examination." I'm asking for an example. You don't have to defend yourself. I'm not defending myself. I'm trying to understand what you're accusing me of. She sighed. "No one is accusing you of anything. Dad simply believes Everline needs a warmer executive presence. And that's you. I'm better with people." There it was, the sentence Thomas would repeat 2 weeks later in front of the entire company. I handed her the presentation. Slide 32 contains the transportation sensitivity analysis. Don't skip it. Why would I skip it? Because it isn't visually exciting, she laughed. You really don't trust me. I trust preparation. The Everline presentation began well. Chloe opened with a story about visiting a rural hospital during a winter storm. It was a good story. The problem was it had nothing to do with the distribution center transition. Julia listened politely for 10 minutes before interrupting. What happens if the Kansas City automation system goes down during launch week? Chloe smiled. We've built multiple layers of redundancy. Julia looked at me. What layers? I answered. We'll retain 80% of current emergency inventory in the Dallas and Indianapolis facilities for 60 days. High-priority hospital orders can be redirected within 4 hours. Julia nodded. And the added cost? Approximately $1.8 million. Chloe jumped in. But we believe we can reduce that significantly. Julia turned toward her. How? Chloe glanced at the slide. Through vendor collaboration. I knew immediately she had invented the answer. There is no confirmed reduction, I said. The room became quiet. Chloe smiled tightly. What Emma means is that we're still finalizing the details. No, I said. What I mean is that 1.8 million is the current validated estimate. After the meeting, Chloe confronted me in the hallway. You embarrassed me. I corrected a number. You contradicted me in front of the client. You promised savings we hadn't calculated. You could have supported the direction. The direction was fictional. Her face changed. For a second, the polished executive disappeared. You enjoy making me look inexperienced. I don't need to make you look anything, she walked away. That afternoon, Thomas called me into his office. Chloe sat beside him with red eyes. Thomas closed the door. She feels you undermined her. She offered an unsupported cost reduction. She was speaking strategically. She was answering a financial question. You could have handled it privately. Julia needed an accurate answer in the meeting. Thomas leaned back. Emma, do you know why Chloe connects with people so quickly? Because she's charming. Because she doesn't make them feel stupid. I didn't call her stupid. You corrected her in front of everyone. Because she was wrong in front of everyone. Chloe looked down as if trying not to cry. Thomas lowered his voice. You need to decide whether you want to be part of leadership or simply the smartest person in the room. I left without apologizing. The next week, Thomas announced our annual awards ceremony. Human Resources told me privately that I had been selected as Employee of the Year. My team had nominated me after we saved a major pharmaceutical client from a nationwide product shortage. I didn't care much about the trophy, but my analysts cared. They had worked weekends for 2 months, and I planned to use the speech to recognize them. The ceremony was held in a downtown hotel ballroom. 200 employees attended. My name appeared on the screen. Thomas invited me onto the stage. I walked up to loud applause. Then he said, Before Emma speaks, I'd like Chloe to share a few words about what this year taught us. Chloe stepped forward wearing a white suit and a perfect smile. A few words became 14 minutes. She talked about the Everline project. She talked about restoring trust with clients. She talked about modernizing the company's culture. Then she said, numbers matter, but relationships are what make numbers possible. Thomas applauded first. When Chloe finished, he handed her the crystal trophy. She looked surprised. For half a second, I believed it was a mistake. Then Thomas laughed and said, We'll let Chloe hold it. She's better with people. The room laughed. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others assumed it was harmless. Thomas finally gave me the microphone. I had prepared a speech. Instead, I said, Thank you to my team. They know exactly what they accomplished. Then I stepped down. Afterward, my colleague Marcus Lee found me near the elevators. Marcus was our director of analytics and one of the few people who knew how much of the company's work I actually carried. "You should have taken the trophy from her," he said. "And done what? Wrestled the founder's daughter on stage?" "He humiliated you." "Yes." "You're just going to let it go?" "No." His eyes narrowed. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing dramatic." "That sounds more threatening than dramatic." My phone rang. "Julia Warren," I answered. "Emma, I just saw Chloe's LinkedIn post." "What post?" "She says she led the Everline consolidation strategy." I opened the app. Chloe had posted photographs from the awards ceremony. Holding the trophy, she wrote, "Honored to be recognized for leading the team behind Everline Medical's historic distribution transformation." Hundreds of people had liked it. Thomas had commented, "Proud of your leadership." Julia said, "Did you approve that?" "No." "Did you lead the project?" "Yes." "I know, I was there. I'll handle it." "Don't handle it on my behalf. I'm asking because I need to understand who controls our account now." "I do." "For how long?" I looked across the lobby. Chloe was posing for photographs with my award. "I don't know. That was the first client call." I let Chloe keep the post, but I took a screenshot. The next morning, Thomas announced that Chloe would become executive sponsor for Everline and 2 other strategic accounts. I would remain responsible for delivery. In other words, Chloe would receive the visibility. I would receive the consequences. At first, I tried to make it work. I sent Chloe weekly briefings. She rarely read them. I prepared client talking points. She replaced them with inspirational language. Whenever a call went badly, she blamed the materials. Whenever it went well, she posted about leadership. Then Everline's launch schedule changed. Julia's team asked us to move the Kansas City transition forward by 3 weeks. I told Chloe it was possible only if Everline approved overtime, additional inventory, and weekend transportation. The added cost would be $2.4 million. Chloe called Julia without me. An hour later, she entered my office smiling. "I solved it." "What did you solve?" "Julia agreed to the earlier date. Did she approve the additional cost?" "I told her we'd absorb part of it." "How much?" "We can work that out." "No, how much did you commit, Emma? Don't start." I opened the call summary. "You told her Bellwether would guarantee the new date with no increase in professional fees. Our relationship is worth $12 million. That doesn't make the labor free. You always focus on what something costs." "Because someone has to." She folded her arms. "Dad says Everline has a 35% margin. That number includes projects that ended 2 years ago. The current margin is 14%. "That can't be right." "It is." "Then improve it. You just gave away $2.4 million. Her smile vanished. "Find another solution." "There isn't one. There's always another solution. Not after you promise the client something impossible." She left my office and immediately called Thomas. By the end of the day, my access to Everline's financial dashboard had been restricted. Chloe sent the team a message saying I was struggling to adapt to a more collaborative account structure. The following week, a confidential employee survey appeared. Several anonymous comments accused me of creating a culture of fear. One said I deliberately withheld information so others would fail. Another said I treated client relationships like personal property. Thomas read the comments during my performance review. "I'm concerned," he said. "Were the responses verified?" "They're anonymous. How many people completed the survey?" "That isn't relevant." "Were the comments submitted from unique accounts?" Chloe shook her head. "You're proving the point." "What point?" "You're trying to investigate feedback instead of accepting it." I looked at Thomas. "Is this a performance review or a resignation discussion?" He appeared offended. "No one wants you to resign." "Then what do you want?" Change. In what way? Share ownership. Trust Chloe. Stop acting as though clients belong to you. They belong to the company. Exactly. I signed the review only after writing that I disputed its findings. That afternoon, Marcus came to my office. The survey wasn't anonymous. How do you know I built the dashboard? Who submitted the comments? He hesitated. Most employees submitted one response. And 7 negative comments came from the same device. Whose device? Chloe's executive assistant. Can you prove it? Yes. Don't send it to me. Why? Because I don't want you accused of accessing records for me. What are you planning to leave with clean hands? The truth was, I had already received an offer from North Star Advisory, a smaller consulting company in Boulder. Its founder, David Chen, wanted me to build a healthcare supply chain division. The salary was slightly lower, the authority was real. The problem was my non-solicitation agreement. For 12 months after leaving Bellwether, I could not directly ask company clients to move their business. Rachel Foster, the attorney who reviewed the agreement, explained the difference carefully. You cannot recruit Bellwether clients. What if they contact me? You can speak with them, but document who initiated contact. Do not share confidential information. Do not encourage a breach of contract. What if they ask where I work? You may answer truthfully. That became my rule. I would not take a client. I would simply stop protecting Chloe from them. The first opportunity arrived during an Everline executive workshop. Julia asked Chloe to explain how Bellwether planned to protect emergency hospital shipments during the accelerated transition. Chloe displayed a new slide. It showed 5 regional backup warehouses. I stared at it. Bellwether had contracts with only 2 of them. Julia pointed to the map. Are all 5 active? Chloe answered immediately. Yes. I said nothing. Julia looked at me. Chloe interrupted. Emma's team is finalizing the operating details. That wasn't my question, Julia said. Are all 5 warehouses under contract? Chloe's smile tightened. We have relationships with all 5. I finally spoke. 2 are contracted, 1 is under review. 2 have not agreed to participate. Julia leaned back. So this slide is false. It's forward-looking, Chloe said. It says active network. We can revise the language. Julia closed her folder. No. You can revise the plan. After the meeting, Thomas called me. You let Chloe walk into an ambush. I sent her the contract status yesterday. She says the file was confusing. It contained a table with 5 rows. You should have warned her before Julia asked. I did. You should have interrupted. She told me not to undermine her in meetings. Thomas went quiet. I continued. Would you like me to correct Chloe publicly or not? You know exactly what you're doing. Yes, I said. I'm following instructions. That was my first small counterattack. I stopped converting their contradictions into my emergencies. 2 weeks later, Everline experienced a shipment delay. Chloe told Julia the problem came from my planning model. Thomas demanded that I attend an emergency call and accept responsibility. Are you instructing me to say the model caused the delay? I asked. I'm instructing you to reassure the client. Did the model cause the delay? That isn't the point. What caused it? Chloe finally said. The freight team used a different carrier. Who approved that carrier? Neither of them answered. I opened the approval email. Chloe had replaced our contracted medical carrier with a cheaper company to recover some of the money she had given away. The replacement carrier lacked temperature monitoring certification. Everline had to destroy $600,000 of temperature-sensitive products. On the client call, Thomas began, We experienced an unexpected execution issue. Julia interrupted. Who changed the carrier? Thomas looked at me. I waited. Chloe said Emma's team manages transportation. I shared my screen. The carrier change was approved by Chloe on September 12. Chloe's face went pale. You didn't need to show the email. Julia stared at her. Did you approve an uncertified carrier? I was told certification wasn't required. By whom? Chloe glanced at Thomas. No answer came. Julia ended the call after demanding a formal remediation plan. That evening, Chloe posted on LinkedIn about the emotional burden of leadership. She wrote that strong women were often punished for making difficult decisions. People praised her courage. The next morning, Thomas called me into his office. You're suspended from client-facing work. For presenting an approval email. For damaging trust. Whose trust? Mine. He slid a severance agreement toward me. 6 months of salary. In exchange, I would resign, waive all claims, and agree not to speak about Bellwether or its clients. You said no one wanted me to resign. Circumstances changed. Am I being fired? We're offering you a dignified exit. Does the board know Bellwether is privately held? That isn't what I asked. He leaned forward. Emma, you have built a reputation here. Don't destroy it because your feelings are hurt. My feelings aren't the issue. Then sign. I'll have my attorney review it. His smile disappeared. This offer expires tonight. Then it expires. I left the unsigned agreement on his desk. The following Monday, I resigned. My letter was 4 sentences long. I thanked the company. I confirmed my final date. I stated that I would return all company property. I asked Human Resources to acknowledge that I had preserved no confidential client files. Thomas refused to accept the letter quietly. He called an all-hands meeting. Without naming me, he warned employees that certain leaders believed personal relationships mattered more than institutional loyalty. Chloe cried during the meeting. She said she had tried to learn from people who never wanted her to succeed. By the end of the day, half the company believed I had bullied the founder's daughter and threatened to take clients with me. Marcus walked me to the elevator on my final day. Are you going to tell people the truth? Not yet. Why? Because right now it sounds like a workplace argument, and later there will be results. I joined North Star Advisory 2 weeks later. I did not contact a single Bellwether client. I didn't announce my move publicly for 10 days. When I finally updated my professional profile, I wrote only, building a new healthcare supply chain practice at North Star Advisory. The first call came from Julia 43 minutes later. Did Bellwether fire you? I resigned. Why, I can't discuss internal matters. Are you working on healthcare logistics? Yes. Can you work with us? You are under contract with Bellwether. That contract is being reviewed. I cannot ask you to leave them. I didn't ask what you could ask. She paused. I asked whether North Star can work with us. I would need our legal team to review the situation. Do that. I documented the call and sent it to North Star's attorney. Then I heard nothing for 3 weeks. At Bellwether, Chloe took full control of Everline. She replaced my weekly risk calls with monthly relationship sessions. She redesigned the reporting dashboard to include fewer operational details and more client satisfaction metrics. She also stopped sharing misdelivery data with Julia's logistics team until the end of each month. The numbers looked better. The shipments did not. In the second month after my departure, Everline experienced 3 hospital shortages. One involved pediatric respiratory equipment. Julia called Thomas. He blamed transition complexity. Chloe blamed the warehouse. The warehouse blamed Bellwether's instructions. Then, Everline's legal department found the key person provision. 5 years earlier, when Bellwether nearly lost Everline after another executive departure, Julia had required a contract clause stating that any change to the lead strategist or executive sponsor had to be disclosed in writing. Everline had the right to terminate if Bellwether materially changed its account leadership without approval. Thomas had never notified them formally that I was gone. He had assumed Chloe's title gave him the right to replace me. 3 months after the award ceremony, Everline terminated Bellwether's $12 million contract. The letter cited service failures, inaccurate reporting, unauthorized carrier changes, and breach of the key person provision. Thomas called me that evening. "You did this. I haven't spoken with you in 3 months. You gave Julia the termination clause. She negotiated it. You encouraged her." "No. She followed you. She left after 3 hospital shortages. You poisoned the relationship before you resigned." "Then show me the evidence." He lowered his voice. "You think you've won?" "I didn't know we were competing. I'll sue North Star for interference. Our legal team is expecting your letter." "You planned this." "No, Thomas. I prepared for you to say I planned it." The next morning, Bellwether filed a lawsuit accusing me and North Star of stealing confidential information and soliciting Everline. Chloe posted a video online. She cried while describing a former mentor who had betrayed the company that made her successful. The video reached thousands of views. Former coworkers messaged me. "How could you do this? You took everyone's jobs with you." I remained silent. North Star's attorney filed our response. We produced my phone records, email logs, resignation correspondence, and Julia's first call to me. Every record showed the same thing. Everline had contacted me. I had advised them to obtain legal review. I had not discussed Bellwether's pricing models or internal strategy. Then Bellwether demanded discovery. That decision destroyed them. Because discovery worked both ways. Marcus produced the employee survey logs after receiving a subpoena. 7 accusations against me had come from Chloe's assistant's device. The court obtained version histories showing Chloe had removed risk warnings from client presentations. Everline produced emails in which Julia repeatedly asked Thomas whether I still led the account. Thomas had answered, "Emma remains fully involved." He sent that email 4 days after suspending me from client work. The carrier record showed Chloe knowingly approved an uncertified company. The award ceremony video showed Thomas handing her my trophy. But the most damaging evidence came from Chloe herself. During her deposition, North Star's attorney asked, "Did Ms. Reed ever tell you she intended to take Everline's business?" "No." "Did she ever ask you to give her credit publicly?" "No." "Did she ever contact Everline after leaving Bellwether?" "Not that I know of." "Then why did you accuse her online of betrayal?" Chloe began crying. "My father told me she had been planning it for months." Thomas was deposed the following week. He admitted he had no proof I solicited Everline. Then Everline's attorney played a recording from a client call made shortly after my resignation. Julia asked, "Who is managing the operational transition now?" Thomas answered, "Chloe, she's better with people." Julia replied, "I didn't ask who was better with people. I asked who understands the system." Thomas had no answer. Bellwether withdrew the lawsuit 2 weeks later, but the damage was already public. Everline signed with North Star after a competitive bidding process overseen by outside counsel. We did not receive the entire $12 million contract. We received an initial $4 million engagement with performance milestones. That mattered to me. I didn't want a gift. I wanted a fair test. Within 6 months, Everline renewed and expanded the work. Then, 2 other former Bellwether clients contacted North Star. We followed the same procedure every time. No solicitation, no confidential data, no automatic transfer. Each client documented its own reasons for leaving. One cited poor delivery, one cited misleading reports, another cited Thomas's refusal to assign experienced account leaders. They didn't follow me because I asked them to. They followed because after I left, Bellwether finally showed them what I had been protecting them from. The board forced Thomas to step down as chief executive. He remained a minority owner but lost operational control. Chloe was dismissed after an outside review found that she had manipulated employee feedback, misrepresented account performance, and concealed service failures. Marcus became Bellwether's interim head of analytics. He called me after the announcement. Thomas says the clients betrayed him. What do you think? I think he confused contracts with loyalty. And Chloe, she says everyone was jealous. That's easier than learning. A year after I joined North Star, David Chen asked me to lead the healthcare division as a partner. At our annual company dinner, he announced the promotion. Then he placed a glass award in my hands. I looked down. Employee of the Year. The room applauded. David handed me the microphone. No surprise speakers? I asked. People laughed. No daughters, he said. No speeches stolen. The microphone is yours. I looked at my team. For a moment I thought about the hotel ballroom, Chloe holding my trophy, and Thomas explaining that she was better with people. Then I said, this award has my name on it, but the work belongs to everyone who told the truth before it was comfortable. After the dinner, Julia found me near the exit. You know why we really followed you? She asked. Because Bellwether breached the contract. That gave us the legal right. Because Chloe mishandled the account. That gave us the business reason. Then, why Julia smiled? Because you were the only person in the room willing to tell us what something would actually cost. Thomas believed clients wanted charm. Chloe believed they wanted attention. Both were partly right, but when millions of dollars, hospital supplies, and people's reputations are at risk, clients want something more valuable. They want someone whose answer doesn't change depending on who is holding the microphone. I didn't fight for the trophy Thomas gave away. I didn't have to. Credit can be stolen for a night. Trust follows the person who earned it.